build my gallows and build them high. Makes a long time climbing before I die. I want the chance to spit in his eye. Well, they gave me ball, but I can see between to a dusty yard and a long gone green. They call that freedom, if you know what I mean. And I dry my sorrows, but the whiskey's gone. I'm sober.
Hello everybody, welcome to Longbangers. I'm Matty. This is episode 92. Tonight I am joined by the most handsome man in podcasting. John, how are you doing?
Look at that smile.
Aye.
Aye, I'm good. I don't think I've had quite as nice an introduction before. It makes me worry about what you've got in store, because normally I'm getting the piss ripped out of me.
No, I'm just heavily medicated.
Or did you get it out of your system last night by ripping the piss out of Colin?
Oh, poor Colin. No, he texted me after that and he says, you done me there. But I thought he actually followed up quite well by refusing to then talk after when he did have the chance. So
I really appreciate that, because that's the kind of stance I would take as well. No, fuck you, fuck your podcast. I'm just going to sit here in silence.
It was a funny thing. So when we did Quick Bang last night, and if you've not watched Quick Bang, if you're listening to this or listening to Quick Bang, it's a post-match reaction show where we have a handful of Hibs fans on to kind of talk about what's just happened in the game. We record it right after the match, and then we'll go through everybody's opinion and then publish it in the various places. We aim for, I think, normally about 9 or 10 folk on it. And what I've found since we started doing it, sometimes people come forward for it and then drop out at the last minute because life happens, and that's absolutely fine. So I had started booking a few more than we would want to come on necessarily. Because we have a wait list, and obviously it's nice to not let people down. But everybody turned up last night. I think it's because Hibs won, and that's a good thing. So we had a really busy show, but it meant by the time we got to the last 2 or 3 people, most of the points had already been covered. And that's just the way it goes. So we're going to talk about it again just now anyway, John, aren't we? The cup game. This is what we're reviewing tonight.
Aye, looking forward to it. It's always... I worry sometimes that these shows are going to be a little bit shorter because you're not having to explore things in as much detail.
Aye, you're not
than you would if it was. You're not having a gripe because it was a defeat. But I think my worries have never actually come to fruition, because every other podcast, like, we tend to talk at length about these things, like usually for about the length of a football match.
Aye, it's true. Like there's been a few times recently where we've said that I think we'll get we'll be lucky to hit an hour. And then we're 90 minutes into it going, fuck, we better just finish, otherwise...
3 hours later.
Otherwise, we're getting no sleep. So, yeah, we've got a win to talk about. And if you're a Hearts fan tuning in, a win is when you've scored more goals than the other team. Happens if you do it in a cup game like Hibs did last night, you go through to the next round. And if you do it in the league, you get 3 points. So, there you go. Just a bit of context for any non-Hibs fans out there. That's what a win is. Right, John, Hibs versus Queen of the South. What was your view on the match?
First 20-odd minutes, pretty grim, a wee bit concerning, but I was trying to work it back, because obviously I watched Quick Bang last night and I was listening to the other guys' opinions, and in my head, at least, or in my memory, Martin Boyle breaks free down the right-hand side, has a shot, and then the remainder of the game is just Hibs steamrolling in Queen of the South.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it wasn't quite like that. Certainly the second half, Hibs were excellent. But I thought, probably for majority of the first half and all of the second, Hibs were the dominant team and well worth the win.
That Boyle shot that you're referring to, looked like he tried to smash it through the goalkeeper's legs. Did the goalkeeper save it with his cock? Because...
is this hang on? Is this Longbangers or Shortbangers?
Longbangers, but I'm pretty sure that's what. Although he didn't grimace, so he's either got a cock of steel or that's not what happened. But I watched it a couple of times. I'm like, that's hit him right where you wouldn't have wanted to hit you.
I was watching something today. I don't know what it was, but it made me think of footballers wearing cups, and whether that has ever been is a thing, or it's just been kind of put to one side.
I don't know. I think I've never and almost never given it any consideration. I know when I played football, wouldn't you just
No,
chuck boxers on or pants, can whatever, and then your
but
shots over the top.
I think I think everyone that's ever played football has probably taken the glance and blow from a football in the
Oh, aye.
cock or in the
Everybody,
balls.
yeah, everybody's had that.
Aye.
Like
But
that.
did he catch? Did he save it with his cock? I don't know. It was a bit. It was an awkward save, wasn't it?
Aye, well, it was going. It would have gone through his legs if he hadn't saved it. That's what made me think, because it didn't hit his legs. It was higher than that.
Maybe it's just like because he was quite a sorry he's quite a chunky laddie, so maybe it just caught like the upper inside of his thigh,
Do you know
the fleshy bit.
what I thought about their goalkeeper? Obviously, you know, he's good enough to play for a team like Queen of the South and that kind of thing, but he seemed to confuse himself quite a lot with when he had the ball about what he was going to do with it next. So I think there was one point he sort of, sure, keepers did a wee run out to kick the ball from hand, and
Yep.
he kind of did like he was doing the river dance with his feet. It's like a fucking funny wee shuffle thing. And then there was a couple, especially late on, there's a couple of times where he looked like he totally had no clue what he was meant to be doing with it. Because I got a text saying, does the 6-second rule still apply for goalkeepers? And my reply was, I think it only comes into play when the goalkeeper hasn't confused the fuck out themselves.
See, in about 18 months' time, this is going to be a betting scandal, like the Elgin player having stamped on Christian Doidge for 36 grand or something.
Aye. Did the keeper get deliberately confused for for a tenner? Aye. Anyway, good cock save anyway. But I think that's the point that we're making. If it was his cock, he's done well to save it with that. And if it wasn't, then he's lucky that it missed because it was travelling. The early chances, the first 20 minutes, John, I think you're right, were pretty grim. I think the conditions played a large part in that. The pitch was shite. By the look at it.
I was reading, I don't know what it was I was reading earlier, it was Twitter or Hibs.net, but it was talking about the Queen of the South pitch. I don't know when it was that they had the plastic installed, but they reckoned that it had deteriorated over the last few years. I think I saw references to it looking like a dodgy hairpiece or something else.
We need to figure out what
I honestly couldn't say.
You need to understand what the half-life of an AstroTurf pitch is.
Probably about the same as, was it strontium 14 or something?
Aye, I think what that is, but I'm going to agree with you.
just think Chernobyl. I thought Dave Graham called it pretty accurately last night. As bad as plastic pitches are, and I think it maybe contributed to Hanlon getting booked in the second half, it's probably better than the surface that we could be playing on at Easter Road this week.
I don't know. So what you normally expect for a plastic pitch is the ball will run pretty true, so it might bounce funny, but when you're playing it along the ground,
yeah,
and there was loads of instances last night where you're watching it and a pass was going along the deck and it would just kick up off the turf randomly or change direction slightly. I think Newell had a shot in the second half. I think the second half where he sort of side-footed it along the ground. It's taken one bounce and spun wide. Because actually, when he first hit it, it looks like it's going in, but the bounce kicks up and takes it wide.
Shit, is that the one that I've slated him for? When I've said that he's obviously minted that he's got an unlimited supply Alice bands because he seems pretty blasé about a goal bonus.
maybe
I take that back, Joe. If it was the pitch, I take it back.
I'm maybe being kind to Joe Newell with the shot. Maybe it would have bounced that way anyway, even on a grass pitch. But I just thought there was a few times where you're looking at a ball along the deck, which should run pretty true in AstroTurf, and it just didn't. It just looked shite. You know, you look at when you're playing games at that level, you really want a better pitch than that. And it's no sour grapes that we lost because of a bad pitch. We won the game and we won it comfortably, but it definitely didn't help things. One of the intriguing things for me, John, was 0-0. So really the first big chance in the game. So you had Boyles one, and Stephen Dobbie had a chance at the back post as well, where the ball fell to him. He's unmarked, and I don't know who thought it was a good idea to leave Stephen Dobbie unmarked with his reputation at that time of night.
What do you mean?
Well, he's a goal scorer, isn't he?
Prolific with a 7:45 kickoff.
Yeah,
is that what
that's it. Aye. No, it's a wee fast show reference, but I can't do the voice everything for it. So the fourth Earl of Wimbledon or something, whatever his name was. Did you watch the Fat Show?
Brian does a good impression, I think. Is
Yeah.
that the old pisshead?
Aye. He's basically he's always in a fucking girls' school or whatever. Anyway, Stephen Dobbie, with his reputation for scoring goals, he leave him unmarked on the back post, but he skied it, and when he skied it, there was a big way. There's no fans there, and this fucking amused me for ages because I was like, I hope that was the Hibs bench that did that, and then obviously it turns out there was some Hibs fans that had kind of gone down to watch the game, but for ages the idea that either Dobby's teammates who were sitting in the stand or were also on the pitch went, way, when he fucked his shot up, or it was the Hibs bench giving him fucking pelters. That cheered me up. No end. That was the most entertaining thing about that first 20 minutes, was just thought, who's fucking slated Dobby there?
Aye. Is there such a thing as like guerrilla? I'm trying to think of like something along the lines of guerrilla warfare, like guerrilla fanfare. Like all these people that are coming up at football games and like
monkeys with trumpets,
step ladders and cherry pickers to watch the game. Like I envy them. I like, if whoever you are, if you're going to Stranraer, give me a shout because I want in. I want to come. I will provide the pies and toffee cake for Alan's Bakery on Wrestle Ring Road.
Guerrilla fanfare. I like the idea, John. Just PG Tips monkeys with trumpets. Right, different gorillas. I like the idea that the players would do that though, like other players, because football takes itself too seriously too often. So the idea that this goes on and you never hear it because there's crowd noise, and you know when somebody shanks a shot and everybody in the crowd gives it way. Players, if they did it, you would never know because it would be lost in the noise. And with no fans there, the idea that it might be them that's doing it as well is really fucking appealing.
I was watching the game with my wife last night, and she was commenting on how, without the fans there and with the sort of the intimacy of Palmerston Park, you felt much closer to the action and the players as a result. She really quite enjoyed it. But it made with what you were saying there about like players like not being or being natural, like not being robotic. I could imagine someone like Jason Cummings doing that. Because he's been quoted recently saying that he's fed up with modern footballers giving it the "we go again" chat on Twitter.
Yeah,
you do want someone like, because I think you want the player like the so-called playing with a smile on his face kind of thing. Like I want someone like maybe it was Martin Boyle. Martin Boyle seems like another candidate for giving it way.
Yeah. Who was Jimmy Bullard, wasn't it? He used to.
Jimmy Bullard, aye. I don't think
it.
he's on Queen of the South books though.
No, I don't think. I think is he on Soccer AM or something these days? So,
I don't know.
Can mind him getting banjoed by Duncan Ferguson for bamming him up a bit. I'm sure Duncan Ferguson just absolutely like hooks him in the ribs.
Oh, really?
Aye. It's like brutal because Duncan Ferguson's about 3 times the size of him. But
honestly, I get my kill at the story about Duncan Ferguson and how someone tried to rob his house and he put them in hospital, and then someone tried to do it again. Like, do you not read the papers?
Aye, robbers are the brightest. That happened to Steve Bruce as well, didn't it? Somebody tried to burgle him and ended up packing them.
Did Steve Bruce batter them?
He got a black eye out of it, but I think he came out with it better.
Well,
aye. Anyway, I can't even remember what we're talking about. Like players.
Stephen Dobbie is nighttime proclivities.
That's a good word as well. It's full in the night job.
Fucking, I love a dictionary.
Aye, amazing. And it's good because next week we've got Susie Dent from Countdown coming on. So
amazing. We can. Aye. Do you know what? We didn't need you. Her and I will just exchange words that we know.
Aye, talking to you.
Get the big fucking Oxford out. Just.
Sorry, we survived that, and I suppose it goes down as more than a half chance because he's only 5 or 6 yards away for goal. Skies it. Martin Boyle has his chance, which I think goes down as a better chance because he's running through on goal.
He's tested the keeper.
Yep, made the keeper's cock work. And then I think we kind of found our gear. Like Hibs got the finger out. So I'd text my mates in the WhatsApp group and just said, I think we need to get our finger out a wee bit. Everyone's a bit one-paced. And then, obviously, we can't claim credit. None of the Hibs players or coaching staff are on our WhatsApp group. But the team did it. It's like they just went, we better get fucking started now. And
Aye.
they just went, and for that moment on, we didn't really look back. I think it was pretty much a really dominant performance after that.
I watched. I don't normally stick around for the post-match interviews with the players because, like I was saying before, like normally they're just pretty par for the course kind of interviews by numbers kind of thing. But Martin Boyle said something about getting in behind the defenders, and that's what made me think. That's what made his shot, him cutting in from the right hand side and testing the goalkeeper. That's why it stuck out so much in my mind, because I wonder if at that point Hibs realised, right, we've had almost 20 minutes here of Queen of the South on their own home turf, having a go. This is how we beat them.
Yeah.
Keep it simple, get in behind them, and just create chances that way. And we never really seemed to look back for there. Like, I don't think that the first half was the sort of free flowing football that it was that we had in the second half. But certainly we finished the first half the better team, and we got the goal as well, which was, I think it's always nice to get that goal just before half time. So with the first 20 minutes, where it was a wee bit cagey, I was a wee bit concerned about that midfield three of Newell, Gogic and Irvine, because it just seemed a wee bit congested. It was almost like they were still trying to work out where each of them should be playing.
Yeah.
And that's what made me think with Boyle down the right-hand side, when we had that opportunity, it was like, well, we don't need to worry about going through the middle too much. Let's not try and, find the passes there. Let's just hit them down the wings. And that seemed to be what worked.
Yeah. I think we stopped knocking the ball high as well, which we were doing for a good spell. At the start of the game, it's just like kind of knocking the ball up in the air and either hoping that it bounced kindly or try to win headers and pick up the second ball. And that wasn't really working out for us. Again, because you're on a shitey pitch, the ball's bouncing all over the fucking place. So that didn't work, but we started just getting the ball down. We stretched them. So I think you saw Boyle going further onto the touchline and Doidge hugging the touchline on the other side. So you had that kind of natural width, and that let Nisbet and Doidge kind of take the defenders into places that they didn't want to go. And in the middle, and that created chances for other players. You saw Irvine getting forward, Newell getting forward then, and starting to create chances. Even Gogic, I thought Gogic had a really good game. He was finding himself taking possession in their box, like on a number of occasions. As a result of that, being able to stretch the plays, it just creates that space.
Aye, it's an interesting point you make about Nisbet there, because I don't remember it, especially in the second half, but certainly in the first half, he found himself having to drop a bit deeper in it. I remember the commentator saying that they thought that he was having to try and create things for, because it wasn't coming from midfield. And I wonder if, like you say, by him dropping deep, it's pulling Queen of the South players out of position, stretching them, like you said, and it's allowing Martin Boyle to get in behind, which as we've seen in recent weeks, when he scored quite a few goals, that seems to be where he's really, really quite dangerous.
Yeah.
Be interesting to watch the game back and see if that was quite common in the second half as well, that movement in Nisbet.
Well, Nisbet was dragging the defender all over the place. Like, you see, Nisbet's really good for this, and if you pay attention to him, you'll see how often he takes the ball in with his back to goal, sort of midway between the halfway line and their 18-yard box, to receive a pass, and he doesn't really do anything other than lay it back, like either lay it off to the side or kind of back the direction it's come. But just by him being there, he's taking a defender out of position, because it's very rarely a midfielder that picks him up there. Always tends to be a defender that's followed him out.
It's almost that role that you'd expect Christian Doidge to play, like the sort of hold-up target man type of player, which must create confusion for opposition defences when the pair of them are like, who do they pick up? Who's dropping deep? Who's sticking? Who's the one that they need to look after in the box?
Aye, especially when you've got then Boyle running at you from, either for the touchline or going central. It's really clever. It's good to have those options, like to be able to play the three. And we've talked about it on the podcast before about what to do with Cadden and Boyle, who are both really kind of strong on the right-hand side. I think last night, especially the second half, showed you if you're playing Boyle, Danny Boyle with Cadden, like Cadden can go on the bench and come off and impact the game later on. But there is a way to play Boyle, Nisbet and Doidge and
Yep.
be effective, and last night showed that. So we went in 1-0, and we came out the chaps flying the second half, and I don't know how much of a difference it made having the wind at our backs in the second half, Jordan. I mean, it looked like a pretty ferocious night.
I couldn't honestly say. Like you mentioned before, like first half, long balls, high balls, that kind of thing. Maybe that was something that they talked about at half time, was stop fucking about that, because we've got a lot of good ball players there. Like we're not a team of hoofball merchants.
Yeah.
There's a lot of very competent players on the ball. Like you know what, I'm thinking about players like Dougie Tripod. Porteous is good on the ball. Hanlon's comfortable on the ball. Paul McGinn's comfortable. Like, we've got a team of players that are comfortable on the ball. So I know I'm hopeful that that was a wee bit of chat at half time. Like just get the ball down and just play football, because you've got the beating of them. And maybe just that comment that Boyle made before about getting behind them. Just make sure that you're getting behind them. And what we were saying before about Nisbet dropping deep and stretching the play. I wonder if just maybe that sort of superiority and quality that we have compared to, in relative positions, where we are in the leagues and what have you, maybe superior fitness as well. We were just able to play around them rather than through them.
There's definitely there was a very evident golf in class. And one of the things that was mentioned on Quick Bang last night was Newell playing further forward in the second half. So rather than the in inverted commas, the quarterback position that he sometimes picks up and tries to dictate play, which, if I'm honest with you, I don't think he's that great at.
I'm not a fan of it.
Nah.
I'm not a fan of it because, how do I put it? I'm not a fan of it because I think it's to accommodate Jackson Irvine, and that's not a criticism of Jackson Irvine. Like there's quality in him, there's quality in Joe Newell. And what I wondered last night, actually, it's maybe in part because of the sort of superior quality that we have in comparison to Queen of the South. But the eternal optimist in me not just last night, but the eternal optimist in me watching the game last night, I thought that maybe there was just a little semblance of understanding between Joe Newell, Alex Gogic, and Jackson Irvine about what the three of them were doing. Because that's been like, since Jackson Irvine was brought into the team and Joe Newell came back from injury, that's been a little bit kind of topsy-turvy. It's not had quite the right balance there.
Yeah.
Last night it seemed to work in the second half. Like once we got that 20 minutes first half out of the way, where we sort of got the measure of the Queen of the South and we started to realise actually we're better than them, and we'll just go ahead and win it. I'm hopeful that that's something that we can build on going forward, because there was definitely something there.
Aye. I'm never quite sure about the quarterback position, because if you think Stevie Mallon got played in that role quite a lot, Scott Allen's had it a few times, and I've yet to see anybody be truly effective at it in a Hibs shirt. I think you've got good passers of the ball, but I think when they're deep and there's not space in front of them, you just kind of you lose the effectiveness and end up just playing passes that your centre half could make. You're better getting these good passes of the ball in areas where they can hurt the opposition, like Newell picked up last night. Because I thought he was excellent second half. Like I don't think Newell had a bad game in the first 20 minutes, but the contrast between his first 20 minutes and his second chunk of the game, I can't remember if he got subbed off. I was going to say the second 70 minutes that he played, but having a brain fart there, and I can't remember if he got taken off as a sub for. Did he go off from McGuinness, or did he?
It's fine, because I missed when I saw someone on the pitch and I went, "Is that McGuinness? How have I managed to miss that substitution?"
I think maybe McGuinness came on for Jackson Irvine, so maybe Newell got the full game. I should really have checked this. My memories is gone now as we're talking about it. Anyway, Newell was really good, playing further forward. And it's good. So Raymond mentioned it on Quick Bang last night about the strength and depth we've got on the bench as well. And we're talking about it when we're mentioning McGuinness there. Last night we had McGuinness, Wright, Cadden, McGregor, Hallberg, Gray, Stevenson, and young Bradley and Dabrowski, the goalkeeper, on the bench. And that's a really solid bench to have at your disposal if you're Jack Ross. That's encouraging. I think we're only really missing from that Jamie Murphy to have a full squad available.
Do you know what? It was a bit to call him the forgotten man, but then I remembered that Dre Wright made a cameo appearance last night.
He came on, he was absolutely fine when he came on as well.
Aye. I think the good thing about the bench is not just the strength and depth that we've got for the rest of the season, but also for next season.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure that there's going to be wee tweaks. There's probably going to be a couple of movements, but there's a good mixture of youth experience, which is usually a pretty good recipe for success. But there's a couple of new faces in there. Like we're definitely going to have a new goalkeeper next season.
Yep.
And based on Macy's display last night, if he was to be number one, I think he'd be pretty comfortable.
Aye. So actually, we'll talk about Macy in a wee second, because Doidge scores just before half time. We mentioned that, and again, typical Doidge. He scored in the last game, and he's known for going on streaks. He went on to score 2 last night, so that's him 3 in 2 games, which is good. Takes him into double figures for the season. So I don't think he was on double figures before.
I saw an interesting stat about him. I think it was on Hibs.net earlier, and it basically he's on 1 and 2, a goal for every 2 games. Or maybe just shy of a goal every 2 games for Hibs. So as much as he had that barren 17-game spell, he makes up for it when he scores.
Aye, that's outstanding. It's very rare we'll have a striker with that sort of ratio. So we're 1-0 up. Totally dominate him, and then a ball over the top catches us, and it was the boy that scored against Hearts. I forget his name. Shields.
Connor Shields.
Connor Shields. That's it. Runs onto it, and Macy makes a save. It was actually a really good shot. The boy catches it sweet on the volley, and it would have been one of these ones that is criminal if we find ourselves level at that point, because we're totally in control of the game. But football does that to you sometimes. You can just get caught out. The importance of having a goalkeeper that can make a save like that is very difficult to understate.
I think you mentioned the conditions before, and it was highlighted on the TV. There was just this very ominous looking cloud with, God knows, I don't know whether it was like snow or rain that was falling from it, but it was coming over the stadium anyway. And the wind was howling. It was a freezing cold night. Could you imagine being Matt Macy, however tall he is, standing in the Hibs goal last night, waiting for something to come out? Just waiting for something to come your way.
Aye.
Like, it must have been a pretty lonely existence for him last night. But then, like you say, the boy Shield just had that dig, and it was a really good save.
Mm-hmm.
Good firm hands behind it, pushed it off to the side, and it's that we were talking about stereotypes that you want to eradicate from football, but that is one of those stereotypes, isn't it? Like the keeper that's only called upon once a game, and you want him to be able to stand up to it.
Aye,
and he did. Like he just dealt with it.
Yeah, and it's a save. Like in fairness, I think Rocky would have made the save as well. It's not like it was a world class save, but it was a very, very important one. Because right after
a save that needed to be made.
Yeah, right after that, because you didn't want to give a team any encouragement when you're so far on top in a game. The last thing you want to do is open the door and let the opponent in and have that wee glimmer of hope. Because we almost immediately went up the pitch and scored. I mean, it was only a few minutes later when we got the second, I think, if memory serves me right. So actually, that was on the back of Dobby's involvement as well. So Dobby and Newell came together in the box.
Collided.
And Dobby went down screaming for a penalty, and I thought, fucking hell, when you look at it back, so Newell touches him, but that's all it is. Do you know, it's like one of these things. If you go to move past somebody to get to your seat in Easter Road, you would touch them harder than Newell touched Dobby.
Aye, it was. I didn't think it was a penalty at the time. Obviously, Willie Collum was it? It was Willie Collum.
It was Willie Collum.
He never thought it was a penalty, and just to rub salt on the wounds, Joe Newell's sauntered up the pitch and then played that perfectly weighted pass for Christian Doidge. But no, it was never a penalty. It was one of those shitey things about football and maybe the climate of football that we've become accustomed to, where contact like that, players feel entitled to go down. Like that seems to be one of those bits
Cliche.
Terminology
Yeah.
that gets attributed to he's entitled to go down there. Like Stephen Dobbie was not entitled to go down. He's felt contact and it was a hand on his stomach, but it wasn't like Joe Newell was clawing at him or he was pulling at his shirt or he's taking his legs or anything like that. And the way that Stephen Dobbie's gone down, like I say, I can understand why he's gone down.
Mm-hmm.
But the way he's gone down, like he's not like the referee's looking at it and going like the contact, the hand on the stomach, and the way that Stephen Dobbie's gone down, they don't marry up.
No. The referee plays advantage because actually the referee would have been within his rights to blow a foul for Hibs there and book Dobbie, and he didn't let the advantage go. Newell breaks forward, like you say, saunters casually up the pitch, plays in Doidge. What were you thinking as Doidge is bearing down on goal? John, be honest.
Honestly, and this might go against the grain of a lot of Hibs fans, but the pass that was played through, I felt confident that Doidge was going to score. I understand why people would be hesitant about Doidge being one-on-one because he's been one-on-one countless times before.
Yep.
And he's battered it straight at the keeper's legs. I'm trying to remember, there was a game that's just suddenly sprung to mind there, where he found himself in a similar position and he's pulled it to the right of the keeper around the post.
Mm-hmm.
I forget the game. And it came, and that came during a dry spell for him as well, and it maybe came through like a wee bit of an awkward spell for Hibs. But no, like he's like it was actually really, really good to see. Like just like it was the execution, because we've been critical, like we've talked about it before, where Hibs, when they've had chances like that, they haven't been clinical, and other teams have been. So you've had Joe Newell striding out of defence with the ball, taking advantage of the situation, like the referee not blowing for the foul, not stopping the game. He's allowed Joe Newell to carry forward. Joe Newell's played the perfect pass. Christian Doidge has held the line, because you can see him in the replay as well. He's watching the line to make sure that he doesn't get caught offside, and he's through, and he just tucks it away brilliantly.
His finish was outstanding. When you watch it back, you see him kind of giving the keeper the eyes, and he just leaves it long enough that the keeper makes up his mind for him, and just so casual and lifting over him. Absolutely brilliant finish. I thought he was going to maybe square it. It was one of those ones where I think McFadden was on commentary last night and was talking about how you've got too much time, almost as a striker.
Yeah.
You get the ball and you're thinking, oh, right, I could go round the keeper, I could shoot early, I could knock it to the side for this boy, or did I dink it, did I go through his legs? But before you know it, the keeper's on you and you've fucked it because you've been overthinking it. Doidge was just so calm and collected. And you just see, he gives the keeper the eyes, and he almost just kind of kicks it straight. He doesn't even kind of lift it to the side. It's just like, I'm just going to kick it in the direction that I'm facing, but just put it over you and into the net. Really good finish.
It was a great finish, and I think because of that, like the execution of the attacking move, it had me off my seat again. I was honestly really, really delighted for, because like I said, I'd given Joe Newell a bit of stick, and I've given Joe Newell a wee bit of stick in the past for not getting the laces through it, for trying to guide it into the back of net.
Yep.
While it would look beautiful, I'd just rather see him score a goal. And I think for Christian Doidge as well, because typically we have attributed most goals to him as a result of 2 or 3 deflections.
Yep.
Aye, but both his goals last night, he's finished clinically. And especially the second one. The second one was just, it was a beautiful footballing move, and that's what I think, that's the thing that Hibs fans want to see. We want to see good football, and just that execution of that whole move was phenomenal. Loved it.
Really good, and that gave us a bit of breathing space. But what I was really impressed with at this point, because you go 2-0 up in the cup and a tricky tie as well, because Queen of the South have been in good form. Going into, I think they talked on the build up to the game about how they had gone from like 4th bottom or something to 3rd or 4th in the championship, with Manager of the Month awards and Player of the Month awards going to their staff. So they're not a bad team by any stretch of the imagination. And you would imagine at 2-0 in the cup, the temptation would be to go, right, job done, let's just shut up shop now. But Hibs never. Hibs just kept at it. It was so refreshing to see the the pace never dropped at all. The players just were like, "Fuck it, there's more goals in this game for us," and kept going. What do you think was behind that?
I'm not sure, but like I was thinking about how the game was received. Like, so you had the quality football, and there was some really good quality football there. But what Hibs did as well was they just, like you say, they continued to go for further goals.
Yeah.
So you had, they had the goal just before half time. You had Joe Newell with the perfect, the through ball is just one of those beautiful things in football, isn't it? And then you got the third goal as well. And I wonder if it was maybe just a case of maybe the circumstances. So as much as the game, it was a tricky cup tie. I was saying before that, from maybe about the 20th minute onwards, like Hibs just realised, the players collectively realised that they had the beating of Queen of the South. They knew how to get the better of them.
Yeah.
And they just, maybe there was just something in the air, the magic of the cup or whatever it happened to be. They just knew that they could go and get further goals. And they did.
Aye. And the third goal was cracking as well. When you talk about the through balls, I think it was Nisbet played in.
The whole
Boyle.
So that's. I was watching it back, and I watched it back 4 or 5 times because I know that Paul McGinn's come in for a wee bit of stick recently, maybe even for the last couple of months, especially since Hibs have reverted back to 3 at the back. But he starts the move with an interception.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he plays in Kevin Nisbet. And between McGinn playing the ball to Nisbet, you can see Martin Boyle immediately start running. It's almost like he senses that something's on, and he's just, continuing to support the attack.
Yeah.
And there's a little crisscross of the two players as well at one point where I think Boyle crosses Nisbet's path, and then Nisbet plays in that perfectly weighted pass, and Boyle pretty much with a similar finish to Christian Doidge just tucks it in the back of the net.
It was like a sort of 5-a-side finish, yeah. See, when you're playing fives, your mates, you kind of find yourself running through the keeper, and you just get a toe to it and lift it over. It was one of those finishes, just quality, absolutely quality.
It was just, do you know, like I say, there was a couple of things that worked out really well last night. So we had the movement in Nisbet and the combination of Doidge getting on the score sheet again, Martin Boyle doing what Martin Boyle has done for the majority of the season. I know he's had like a couple of wee dips here and there. Mm-hmm. You've got the midfield 3 of Newell, Gogic and Irvine, I think maybe having found a little bit of understanding between the 3 of them. You've had that attacking outlet down both sides, but so I mentioned Boyle before, but you've got Dougie Tripod on the left as well. So he's put in a really cracking ball at one point as well, but he's been a constant threat down the left-hand side. And it's left the back 3 and Matt Macy as well, just with not really a hell of a lot to do. Like, I wonder if that was just like a little coming together of a number of different factors last night that led to what was actually a really accomplished performance from everyone concerned.
I think it was maybe a sign in an ideal world how we would want to be playing. Do you know, like, it gave us an opportunity to do it because we had a couple of goals at our back, but it looked like a team that was let off the leash a wee bit. And one of the things I noticed in the second half, especially, was how many shots we got away, because we were shooting from all over the place, and that's not typical of us. I think if you look back at other games from this season, where there's been opportunities for players to shoot and they've not taken it, they've maybe kind of dallied on the ball or looked for a pass instead. Whereas last night they were pinging them in from all angles, and maybe that was taking advantage of the conditions or the bad pitch, that you think, actually, if I get this on target, there's a decent chance that it could go in because the wind will move the ball or it'll bounce up funny on the pitch. But we were taking pot shots from all over the place. It was a really, really attacking performance for the team. Really, really good to see.
Do you think that was sort of individually motivated decision making? So were the players themselves saying, fuck it, I fancy a goal here? Do you think that was instruction from the coaching staff to say, go out, prove a point?
I think it was, I would hope it was a directive for the coaches and for Jack Ross. I hope he's been saying, right, here's where we could be doing better, taking our shots. Sounds stupid, like dead simple, but we have all season, I think, got ourselves into good positions in games and maybe not been clinical enough or not taking the shot. So to do it, and obviously none of them went in. You know, like for the long range shots, if you look at where the goals came from, they were all. So Doidge's is when they broke to him in the box for the corner, close range, he's tucked it away. The second one, he's been running in on goal. Boyles has been running in on goal, but we came close with a lot of them. Like Doig's had a shot, McGuinness has had a shot, Newell's had a couple of shots. I can't remember if Gogic had one that was maybe blocked, but it was happening a lot. Like loads of shots gone in. Doig's put in some great balls as well. I think it was just a really good performance. Like I said, like the attacking intent of the team was spot on. We looked like we were really determined to go and win comfortably.
Yeah, I wonder as well if looking at, because the players would have known the sort of the path in front of them to a potential semi-final fixture. I wonder if they've kind of got the bit between their teeth and went, we can go far in this competition, and we need to start tonight.
Aye, you'd like to think so, because it is a good one. Obviously, Stranraer the next game, and you can't take anything for granted because Stranraer has knocked out Brora. So they're no mugs. They are no mugs. And then who's after that, Morton or Motherwell, depending on who wins that tie. So
Yeah,
again, neither of those will be an easy game, but both of them are beatable.
Aye, so I think whenever I look at the fixture list or the upcoming round of games that we've got ahead of us, I'll never think that's an easy game. I'll look at it and go, kind of on the balance of things, I'll think that maybe we'll get 1 point or 3 points there. But on the balance of things, I'm kind of looking at it going, we can make the semi-final here.
Aye, it's a good opportunity, especially with one of the Old Firm going out. I know there's no Old Firm before anybody corrects us, but for one of the Glasgow teams, the big Glasgow teams, will go out the next round.
So assuming that I've not seen that side of the table, the fixture list, if you like, for the cup, but assuming that they win their games, are they destined to meet at some point?
They play the
or
next
have
round.
they? Or have they? Is it Celtic Rangers in the next round?
Yeah, that's it. They play each other. So for definite one of them is going out. I say for definite, the SFA will maybe find a way to to fuck with that. But so you lose
fast track the Colts team.
That's it. The Colts team come in at the semi-final stage at the expense of us, probably. It's one of these dilemmas. You think everybody sees that draw, and if you're a non-Old Firm team, you're looking at it going, that's a good draw because that gives us a better chance than we had if both teams remained in it to the latter stages. The dilemma for Hibs is that unless we win it, we want one of those two to win it because of what it means for us in Europe, which is tricky. It's almost like a bad draw for us in a way, unless you go, we'll win it. If we win the cup, it doesn't really matter who they draw. But if it's not going to be us that win it, you want it to be Rangers, the winner of that tie. Otherwise, it impacts our European chances.
I think I'd rather be in charge of my own destiny rather than rely on anyone else, though. So
yeah, you want to win it. So, and Hibs said that. Like Jack Ross said after the games, we want to win it. It's five games that we've got to play. Win those 5 games, we've got a trophy. It's a good way of looking at it.
That seems like a lifetime, but that's pretty much all that's left in the top 6, isn't it?
Aye. Are you optimistic
10 cup finals? That's what we've got.
10 cup finals. We better make it to the cup finals and not the cup semi-finals. Otherwise, we're going to have fucking 10 defeats. We'll approach them. Are you optimistic for the end of the season, John?
Always. So optimistic in terms of
they're running. No, for that showed you on the last day because nobody likes it when the season ends because it's shite. You've got ages with football again.
It's going to be hard. Like, so who have we got in the top 6? We've got St Johnstone, we've got Livingston, there's ourselves, Celtic, Rangers, and Aberdeen.
Yep.
I think Rangers is probably going to be the toughest game out of them all.
Mm-hmm.
League champions and everything that represents. I think there's an opportunity to take points off of Celtic. and I think we have the beating of Aberdeen and St Johnstone. Livingston are going to be a tricky team to play against. But the beauty of the top six, if you like, is that all the other teams that I've mentioned, with the exception of Hibs, have to play each other as well. So they're facing the same difficulties that we do. And I like to think that we are better equipped to deal with those challenges.
Aye, I'm really optimistic about it. I think last night helped. It's amazing the buzz you get after a win. Like you watch it, a win and a good performance, as you come away thinking, right, if we take that form into the next few games, the Rangers will be difficult on Sunday. Like, can that could go either way. Rangers have obviously won the league. They've got games against Celtic to look at now, which will probably be their priority. They're out of Europe. They want to win the Scottish Cup. With the league in the bag, you might find that they're not as focused as they might have been if they were still trying to win the league. So that might play in our favour, right? And
so this is that was something that I thought played into our hands when we won the cup back in 2016. Was that they'd had a few weeks off. I think they'd already been automatically promoted by that point. We still had about 2 games a week for about 8 weeks. So I thought, on the one hand, there was an argument that we might be tired, but on the other hand, we were still very much match fit, while Rangers weren't. And that maybe plays into our hands a wee bit now, because really, what are they playing for apart from a record points total?
aye,
I'm assuming that that's still a possibility.
They want to do an invincible season because Brendan Rodgers did it, and obviously they have to measure their cocks against the size of Celtic's cocks, because that's how they work.
But they didn't win any trophies for that, do you?
No,
you maybe get
a
wee bit of personal pride or accolade, but so I think that's where there's an opportunity for Hibs to maybe throw caution at the wind a wee bit, because with the difference in resources and everything, I don't know that, like, as much as I'm saying that I think we'll take points off of Celtic, the most difficult one will be Rangers, but fuck it, let's just go for it.
I think what I'd like to see is be really physical in that game, to see how much Rangers fancy it. Do you know, like just
get the challenges in early.
Aye,
go old fashioned.
Few early doors, hard challenges, and kind of knock them about a wee bit. And know that I'm necessarily an advocate of that approach, but I think in a game like that where Rangers have got nothing to play for, they know they've got a couple of big games on the horizon for them, because they want to go undefeated against Celtic. They want to progress in the cup, and they have to play Celtic. They have to. All their attention will be on those games. They're only big games left this season. Them getting tuned in to play Livingston or Aberdeen or Hibs. I'm not trying to talk us down, but in terms of Rangers, their season is done on winning the league and then what they do against Celtic. The rest of it is almost an irrelevance. So, want to win the cup once they pass Celtic if they do that. So you have that bit about, if the players are in there thinking it's going to be a bit of a procession, they're going to kind of have everything their own way, and we go and say, well, fuck yous, and we kind of clatter them a few times, you'll get a sense of whether or not they fancy it. And if they didn't fancy it, we're good enough to go and take something for them.
The only thing I'd maybe caution against that is that I thought that was maybe our undoing in the last game at Easter Road. I thought Porteous looked to be going after Morelos a wee bit. Just keep the heat a wee bit, but if you can, step on a few toes, pull out a few pubes or whatever.
Well, we're due a couple of decisions against them. I say a couple. If you look over the years, we're probably due like about 90 minutes worth of decisions at least. But I think if we get a good referee and we get in about them, then we've got more than a puncher's chance. I think we're good enough. Definitely, if we play like we did on last night, and just really kind of go after them and play with that pace and intensity.
Yep.
Then why not? It'll be a wee surprise for Rangers as well, because they're used to teams just sitting in on them. And we've been all right against Rangers this season as well. We've pinned their fullbacks.
Yeah.
Back. I think we'll try the same again.
This could be the emergence of Dougie Tripod. Because I was going to say before that he's had a few shots now, and I think there's maybe a wee suggestion of a bet amongst my mates and I about putting on Dougie Tripod to score from outside the box. because he's had a few efforts from range now that have been
Yes.
looking like they're heading for the top corners, maybe just been a foot or a body or something in the way.
Aye, well, Dougie, if you're listening, get a wee go on Sunday. That would be good. Right, the only other thing I really wanted to kind of cover off for the game on Monday night, John, was Paul Hanlon. So Hanlon got a bit of stick for the goal that we conceded. If you watched Twitter, if you've been reading Twitter as the game was progressing, kind of one eye on that, one eye on the game. Hanlon got a lot of flack. I watched the goal back a couple of times, and I can understand the criticism. If I'm honest, I think he obviously gets done for the goal. My argument, I kind of said it on Quick Bang last night, and I'd be interested to get your thoughts, and feel free to disagree with me, but I thought he was isolated as everybody was kind of chasing the ball up the park. The forward or defender, yeah, I'm not really sure what position the boy played that scored, cuts across him. There's very little Hanlon can do there without fouling him once he's made that movement, because he's no square onto the player. He's got a no bad starting position. It's a good touch. So I think if we're 0-0 and it's a few minutes left, you want Hanlon to bring him down. You know, like to thunder into a challenge and just stop him. Either bring him down or really commit to the tackle. And if you get booked or you get sent off at that point. So Hanlon, I think, was already on a yellow card. He would have been sent off if he'd fouled him. I think, unless the yellow card come after. Anyway, it would have been a goal scoring opportunity, so you're risking a red card. If it's 0-0 and you have to stop that chance and stay in the cup, then do it. At 3-0 with 10 minutes left or however long was left, I think he made the right decision and no clattering him. I think that is a reasonable thing to do. So I wasn't too uncomfortable with what Hanlon did, and I would be loath to blame him for the goal. What are your thoughts?
It's funny because I'd put an alternative team sheet out, and I'd put Paul Hanlon's name down as polarising Paul, and a couple of people had replied saying that they'd found that funny. We've talked about Paul Hanlon at length, and he does get a bit of stick, and I think most of it's undeserved. Like he's been at Hibs for a long time, and he's had his ups and downs in his Hibs spell. Oh, sorry, in his Hibs career. I genuinely don't think that he's shit. I don't think that he's a shit defender. I don't think he's a shit player. Absolutely not. Last night, I can't remember the exact comment, but it was one of our listeners, Doidge, had said that most of the Hibs team and Gogic in particular were beyond the halfway line.
Mm-hmm.
So Queen of the South have noticed the gap and they've exploited it. And I think it's Queen of the South's left fullback that's come barreling through. Not dissimilar to the way that Joe Newell strode forward or Kevin Nisbet had strode forward with the ball, and they've just exploited that space. And Hanlon is pretty isolated there. And I think regardless, I totally understand your point about what you're saying. If it's 0-0, you're looking for him to make the foul. At 3-0, if he makes the foul, it's an automatic red card. If it's 0-0, it's an automatic red card. There's maybe, I think you're probably being really, really pernickety if you're saying that he needs to do something a bit more, because he's kind of side onto the defender. He's trying to slow him down. He's trying to do pretty much everything in his power to stop him. And the boys just kind of knocked the ball beyond him. Like there's not really much that he could have done there. And I don't think it was as much. I don't think it was Paul Hanlon making a mistake as much as it was Paul Hanlon being left exposed and having very little that he could do to try and prevent what was coming. And even then, Paul Hanlon, I think, has done his best to try and slow the player down or try and, kind of push him off to the side or whatever it was. Matt Macy's still there to beat, and Matt Macy gets a hand to the ball. Players just beat him.
Yeah.
It was a good finish. It was a good move for Queen of the South, and it was a good finish. And that's the football fan in me talking. But the Hibs fan, I don't think there's really much you can point the finger at Paul Hanlon there for.
Aye, I'm with you on that one, mate. Right, predictions for Sunday. We go in to Ibrox. We're winning.
I'm going to say 2-1 Hibs.
Yes. I think we're going to get a 3-0. No, had a 3-0 at Ibrox for a wee while, John. So I'm going for 3-0 to the good guys. Doidge to continue his scoring streak. Boyle and Nisbet to get the other 2 goals.
I remember when we had that interview with Calvin Charlton, and he said that what Rangers do is very, very simple, but they do it very, very effectively. And I think the games that we've come up against Rangers so far this season, this will be almost like the third iteration of a Hibs team, if you like.
Yeah.
And I wonder how they're going to. That's the thing that I think I want Hibs to make Rangers think about, is how to contain Nisbet dropping deep, how to contain Martin Boyle buzzing about the defence, how to contain Christian Doidge.
Yeah.
Like, make them react to our game rather than us start off reacting to the way that they play.
Aye. Well, I think last time at Ibrox, Jack Ross played 2 up front, and the Rangers are used to that. And I think that's what I'd like to see us do again. And just, yeah, I totally agree with you. Make them worry about what we're going to do to them. And like I said, get in about them early. Make it physical without being, dirty. I don't want to see players getting sent off or nothing, but just
Rangers players, maybe.
Rangers players, definitely. But take it to the limit, and be physical and leave a bit
That's
on
a
the
song,
players
is it
and
not?
I can think, let's get physical. I never thought I would be singing that tonight, John. Not you, anyway. So I'll stick my neck out and say 3-0, which is obviously ludicrous, but there we go. That's what this podcast is all about. That's us for tonight. We will be back on Thursday for Short Bangers. So get your questions in. The last few weeks' questions have been absolutely banging. So keep that standard up, please, people. It's the Hibs AGM tomorrow, John. I might do something. I've booked a spot on it, so might piece together something if I can be hooped.
You could go way back to Longbangers origins and just podcast to yourself.
Nah,
just give everyone a summary.
Don't think so. Could do. Might put it on recast. Who knows? Might be a joke one. We never know. Right, there's a possibility of some extra content for the AGM anyway. I'll take notes and share what we can. And then we'll be back on Sunday for Quick Bang. So if you want to come on, like I said, it's the top of the show. It's highly subscribed now. We do have a waiting list for it. So get in early if you'd like to come on Quick Bang, and we'll get you on and hear your views. Until then, glory to Hibs, etc. Take care, and we'll catch you next time.
On a dry county line, I pledged upon. Well, they trailed me down when I broke free. I drank all the whiskey in Tennessee. I don't